The other day I had the opportunity to come across some old videos that I created right after I completed my first round of P90X, and at that time Beachbody came to me, they saw my results and they said, hey, can you create some short videos for us just talking about your story, talking about your results, talking about the things that you enjoyed about the program, some of the things maybe that you struggled with, and of course I was like, yeah, let's do it. Now here's the thing, is that that was the first time that I've ever gotten on camera and spoke before. And I was instantly reminded of that as soon as I started watching these things, because I started them up and I'm just laughing so hard and shaking my head the whole time, and my wife even came into the room and she's just cracking up because it was so blatantly obvious how bad I hated being in front of the camera and how uncomfortable I really was. And it really started bringing up some memories of how bad I struggled with not just speaking on video, but speaking in public in general. So what I want to do now is I want to go into some pretty good depth on my fear of public speaking and some of the things that I did to just get better at it. And I guess it's a normal thing because there's so many people that I've come across over the years who have had that same fear, who would rather do anything but get on stage or get in front of a camera and speak. And I get it. I mean, I was that guy. I don't know why I did this, but I took a class in college and it was a public speaking class. And I think that might have been a mistake, even though maybe it wasn't a mistake because it forced me outside of my comfort zone. But looking back, I was so bad in the class. I remember specifically one moment where I got in front of the class and I'm supposed to deliver the speech, and the whole time my body is like violently shaking. And I lost everything that I wanted to talk about. It was gone. And I just felt just sick. And I wish I could have seen myself at that point because I'm sure I was white as a ghost. It was tough. And after that, I never really got back on stage and did anything to get myself to the point to where I was comfortable in doing it. And then once I started as a Beachbody coach, just about probably a year into it, I started understanding that one of the things that I needed to do was I needed to tackle my fear of public speaking head on. Now here's what you got to understand, is that if you want to tackle any fear that you have, the best way to do that is by literally exactly what I just said, and that's tackling the fear head on. Because the more that you do it, the more you become comfortable with it. And then the more you become comfortable with it, the fear goes away. And I understood that because one of my favorite books is The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. And in the book, he talks a lot about how to deal with fear. So I knew that that's what I needed to do, but there's a big difference between knowing and actually doing. And I was having such a hard time doing. And I remember I was down in Columbus and I volunteered to go on stage in front of 250 people and share my story. Just share how I got started with Beachbody coaching, share my results with P90X. And I was a freaking nervous wreck, man. I mean, I remember 2 hours before I was supposed to go on stage, I'm sitting there in my seat and just freaking out. All I kept thinking about was, what if people judge me? Or what if I fall? Or what if I forget what I'm saying? And the more that I started worrying about this stuff, the more worked up I became. And when it came to the point to where I got on stage, I had to just, right before it, I closed my eyes, I took a deep breath, and I said, I'm going to do this. And I went up, and you know what? I wasn't that bad. I don't think I was that bad. But I can tell you that I struggled with it. It wasn't a smooth speech. It wasn't the best speech. I wasn't that comfortable. I was still a little stressed out. But you know what? I got on stage and I did it. And then, you know what I did after that? I got on stage again and I did it again. From that point on, I just kept forcing myself to get up on stage and talk to people. And the more that I did it, the more comfortable I became. So let's fast forward to where I am now with public speaking. And honestly, it's gotten to the point for me to where I am so incredibly comfortable on stage that it's pretty much nothing. Going on stage for me and talking to a large group of people is almost the same as talking to my best friend. I mean, I'm not stressed out. I'm not worrying about anything. I'm not worried what other people think. And I can do it, and I can actually go up and I can enjoy it now. And I think that I've gotten to that point because I forced myself outside my comfort zone so many times, and I practiced it so many times that it naturally just led me to where I am today with speaking, and it literally just got rid of my fear. Now what I want to do is I want to give you a few tips on what you can do to get over your fear of public speaking. And number one, just like I stated, and I don't want to take too much time talking about this, but you have to tackle your fear head on. If you want to become better at speaking, you have to force yourself to speak. So you have to force yourself to get up on stage in front of a group of people, and you can work your way up to a certain number of people too. So maybe you start out with a small number, maybe it's your family and friends, maybe you work up to 15, 20 people, and then 100, 200, but you can slowly, gradually get yourself to where you want to go. And it's also important that you force yourself to just get yourself on camera. So this, for me, getting on camera and speaking was another challenge. I mean, it wasn't something that came very easy, and it's a little bit different than public speaking, but it's sort of the same thing because you're delivering a message to a group of people, whether it's someone that's right there, right in your presence in front of you, or it's someone that's watching a video of yours. So if you struggle with speaking in public, or you struggle with getting on video and being comfortable looking into a little eye of a camera, you just have to keep forcing yourself to do what's uncomfortable. And here's the thing, is that you will never get better if you just sit on your ass and do nothing. Practice, practice, practice. And the more that you practice, the more your fear of speaking will go away. The second tip, and a very important one, is you have to prepare. One of the mistakes that I made early on when I was speaking was that I tried to go on stage and I tried to quote unquote wing it. And a lot of the times I would try to remember all the stuff that I wanted to talk about on stage, and then I'd get up on stage and then I'd literally just forget everything that I wanted to talk about, and I'd have to pause for a second and try to remember everything, and it just makes for a choppy speech. When I started preparing for my speeches, that's when things started to flow a little more smoothly for me. And how do you prepare? Something that I like to do is I like to make bullet points on a piece of paper, whether it's a little sheet of notebook paper or something like that. I like to make bullet points and just cover the major stuff. What I mean by that is I don't sit there and read off of a paper. The only things that are on my paper are bullet points of the topics, the main topics that I want to cover, and I do that just to keep me on track. The worst thing that you can do is read. And I've seen so many people over the last 7 years just get on stage and they're so nervous that they have this piece of paper and they're reading from the piece of paper. And that, honestly, that is one of the biggest mistakes that you can make, because it's just not natural. And when you speak, you want emotion to come out. You want feeling to come out. You want to connect with people. And it's almost impossible to do when you're reading from a sheet of paper. So don't write down your whole speech. Instead, you can prepare by creating bullet points of the main topics that you want to discuss. Not only do I like to do that on stage, but I like to prepare that way for videos like this as well. So normally when I'm creating a video, I'll have a piece of paper or my computer sitting right next to me, and on that piece of paper I have all of my main topics that I want to cover during the video. The more that you prepare, the more comfortable you'll be on stage, and the more comfortable you are, the less fear you're going to have. So those are my tips for getting over your fear of public speaking. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can email me at josh@joshspencerfitness.com or just message me over on Facebook, facebook.com/joshspencerfitness, and I'll get right back to you.